I was previously a faculty member at the Alaska Center for Energy and Power at UAF. So if I look familiar, that's where I'm from. I live in Anchorage and am calling in from there today. So I'm up here in Alaska with all of you. I will just call out our other co-hosts here to introduce themselves. Mike, could you introduce yourself, please? Mike, I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Erin. And good to see everybody. I see a lot of familiar names in the chat room. I look forward to our discussions here shortly. My name is Michael Kuka. I'm an engineer with the Department of Energy with the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations. And we found today is a great opportunity to meet with and talk to our Alaska colleagues about some offerings that this office is having and some opportunities for rural Alaska. I am currently in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I have held a few different positions at Department of Energy. Most recently, I was with the Office of Indian Energy and worked with many of you there. And then before that, I was in the Loan Programs Office. So look forward to our discussion today, and I'm happy you all came and joined us. I'll pass it on to Courtney. Go ahead, Courtney. Hello.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. My name is Courtney. I work closely with Mike here at the Office of Clean Energy Demonstration. I'm the stakeholder engagement lead for this program, the energy improvements in rural and remote areas, but also for our clean energy on mine land. I am not in Alaska. I'm quite jealous. I'm in Frederick, Maryland, but so happy that so many of you all could join us, especially I know we didn't give so much time for you all to be able to sign up and join us today, but we also didn't want to lose any time given our deadlines and another webinar we're doing later in the week. So thank you so much for giving your time to this. We know you're incredibly busy. And before we get started with Erin, I'll pass it to Carolyn.
Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Carolyn Hinckley, and I'm serving as the Acting Communications Director for the Arctic Energy Office, working for Erin. I have been with the Department of Energy for 25 years now, and I am joining you today from Littleton, Colorado. And I do reiterate, we're so glad that you could join us today. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Mike and Courtney and Carolyn. And Morgan, thank you for running this all behind the scenes. We appreciate it. We're so appreciative that you all are here today. This is our first attempt to get some information out to Alaskans about DOE funding opportunities. And I want to just acknowledge from the outset that, again, this is our first try at this. And our goal here at the Arctic Energy Office is to make sure Alaskans are clear about the different funding opportunities coming from the different Department of Energy offices, since I think it can be a little overwhelming at times and hard to keep track of everything. So please bear with us today. We really want your input on what's kind of information is useful. And I will say that if this goes well today, our goal is to perhaps try to do this on a more regular basis with some of the different funding offices across DOE. So we're hoping to give you information today, but we're also hoping to get feedback from you. We hope to have a lively Q&A session with you after a short presentation on the opportunities coming out of OSED. And again, we're just so grateful that you made time for us during the day today. So this will be fairly informal, but I will go ahead and just ask for the next slide here. Let's see here. Great. Okay. So as I mentioned, I'm with the Arctic Energy Office. Here's a nice, interesting ICE logo to get you in the right frame of mind. And we have three main areas of responsibility within our office. We focus on energy. We also focus on science and security, and they're all intertwined. The Arctic Energy Office reports to the Undersecretary for Science and Innovation, which is one of three sort of subdivisions within the Department of Energy. So just to help you understand a little bit where we sit. And as I mentioned, I am in Anchorage, so I do have my finger on the pulse of many activities in Alaska. We have a number of goals relating to dealing with climate change and promoting energy justice and helping with the transition overall, and also to create workforce development. So this is just our broad background. Again, I'm really excited to be in this position, and I'd like to see the next slide, please. And then my final slide of introduction before we dig into what I know you've all come for. This is our Arctic Energy Office team. Myself, I'm joined by Gibby Kokanowski here in Alaska. We also have Carolyn, who you met in the introductions. And then we have Mike McElhaney and Matt Hevner, who both work outside Alaska and help with a lot of our liaisons with the National Lab and national security interests. And many, many other topics that involve the Arctic and in a global and scientific context. So again, it's a team with a lot of expertise across different domains, and we are working locally, nationally, and globally to help the Arctic and to help communicate the importance of the Arctic and also bring your concerns to DOE. So I want to emphasize that we'd like you all to use us as a resource to connect with the Department of Energy, and we will do our best to bring information to you, such as webinars like this today. So we can't wait to hear your questions and comments afterwards. And with that, I will pass it over to my OSED partners for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you, Erin. And as we're moving along here, if you want to use the chat function, if you have a question about OSED as we start getting more into the funding opportunities, just please type them in there. I'm going to be taking notes on those questions, and then we'll circle back and have a Q&A. As Morgan said at the beginning, we do have some live funding opportunity announcements, so we might not be able to answer everything, but hopefully we can get you some information that we know you came here for. You know, this webinar was really to introduce you all to a new agency within Department of Energy. I know there's an incredible amount of programming and funding, it seems like right now, so it is hard to keep up, and I'm working within the government and it's hard for me to keep up. So we are brand new, the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations. And if we can move to the next slide, we have about $25 billion right now under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. And our agency was set up through the Energy Act of 2020. So you can imagine we've been staffing up, you know, really trying to connect with core stakeholders and communities to think about designing all of our programs. In these blue boxes, you can see some diverse programs that we have, from industrial demos, hydro, clean energy on mine land, to this program, energy improvements in rural and remote communities. OSED's mission is really about large-scale market adoption and commercialization. So really thinking about the technology and how do we take the risk out of that for more investment and sustainability. If we move to the next slide, the program we really wanted to talk to you all today, and we just have to thank Erin and Caroline and team for hosting us today. We got together really quickly after an internal call, and we really felt strongly that we wanted to make sure that, you know, you all in Alaska, the communities you serve, know about OSED, knew about this programming, because again, it's just hard to keep up with everything. So they've been great to get together, make sure we can get this information out. So thank you to them. And this is what we really wanted to talk to you about today. We have a program, the Energy Improvements in Rural or Remote Areas. We call it ERA. And it's $1 billion for the next few years, fiscal years of 2022 into 2026. And I know you probably don't want me just to read this slide, so I will not do that to you all, but you can see the purpose and the eligible use of funds is quite broad. This was the language we were given by Congress. And so going back to kind of my slide that I mentioned before, the mission of OSED is really about commercialization. And in some of our programs, that means really thinking about the technology. This one's a little slightly different because it doesn't have to be the tech. It really is looking at where these projects are happening, and that in and of itself is the demonstration. So thinking about where it is, the stakeholders who came together, what's the financing model, but really allowing for a broader pipeline of applicants to receive funding out of this provision. If you move to the next slide, Morgan. Right now, what we've done over the last 6 months is it was important to us to spend a lot of time with, I would say, community members across the country, different intermediaries, really trying to work across federal agencies, working with state agencies to try to figure out, if we have this $1 billion, what should we use it for? What should we do? Where is there the most need? And as you all can imagine, and we did get to talk to a few different folks across Alaska, we heard various feedback from, oftentimes working within DOE or other federal agencies is a lot. It's intensive. It's hard to have the capacity to be able to write the grants, to manage the grants. There was consistent asks around flexibility and what money can be used for. There was feedback of thinking about large-scale community-led projects to an intermediary or an aggregator working in multiple communities. So really across the board, we tried to understand where are the pain points for rural and remote communities to really access this funding to upgrade or replace their existing energy efficiency systems and improve that resiliency. And so in this first year, we really are thinking about piloting a few funding platforms to then learn along the way, and we'll fill in gaps over time. We're really fortunate with this provision that it is over years, and so we can come back to the table and really learn from community members, understand where the gaps are, understand where the opportunities are. But we're here to talk to you all today about two specific ones that are live. One is in the form of a prize, which Michael is going to get into details about what the prize is. If you're not familiar, I am new to DOE as of 8 months ago, so I was not familiar with a prize structure. But it really is a different type of funding mechanisms that doesn't have a lot of the constraints that traditional funding opportunities have within DOE. We're calling it the Energizing Rural Communities Prize. It's a pilot of 15 million, but it really is supposed to be used for capacity building and giving communities or other intermediaries or stakeholders some funding to allow for some planning aspects of energy projects. We also rolled out on March 1st our first funding opportunity announcement associated with this program. We put out 300 million for this first trial for projects ranging anywhere from 5 to 100 million. And you can see some of the deadlines here. And again, Michael's going to get into more details. We also have component opportunities with technical assistance, and we are thinking about another funding opportunity that will be rolled out here soon. So I will stop there and let Michael take it over from here to really get in the weeds of both of these live opportunities and then talk about what's coming, and then we'll circle back to your questions.
Thanks, Courtney. So hello again, everybody. There's, as Courtney highlighted, we're talking about our program within OSED. We coin it ERA for short, but it stands for the provision language that says energy improvements in rural remote areas. And we have two open funding opportunities. One is the prize. And the prize was a bit new to me. It's not the traditional FOA, if you will. It's actually quite different in a lot of ways. But many of the communities I had was fortunate to work with in Alaska while I was doing Indian energy, we would do things such as the strategic energy plan, maybe some initial resource assessments, et cetera. And there was often a gap there where you needed to actually go ahead and get some engineering studies or get some initial permitting work done, or secure financing or build those project management teams. but there wasn't necessarily always funding for that. And that is kind of that gap that we're trying to focus on with this prize. And at the end of the day, if you really wanted to sum it up, is we're trying to find opportunities to identify funding for activities that will bring you to more project ready, but then ultimately that will make you or the community or whoever the applicant is more competitive for federal funding. And I've heard that a lot just in my work with DOE, and we're hoping that this can attack some of that. And the way the prize works is we have two different tracks. The one is the partner track and the other is the finance track. And we always try and give some ideas of what that means, but really the communities give us the best ideas. But as you see here, the partner track has to do with connecting communities to government funding, whether it be through a technical assistance, whether it be working through different partners. As I said, whether it be to do some initial analysis of your options analysis for different technologies, or run other baseline. If you say you're going to be doing maybe like energy efficiencies, maybe you need money to run other baseline metrics of your system to determine baseline metrics to determine what your efficiencies could be, or any number of other things. It could be working partnerships among different villages, could be building partnerships with the state or other angel investors, or any kind of partner concept there. But then that last one, I'm leading into the finance track, which is we're looking for good ideas about how to open up financing for Alaska projects. And many people in the state are already doing this, and you're doing a great job, many of you. So we're not trying to duplicate that. We're just trying to reward ideas that are chasing those options to open things up, to make people in the state more competitive for federal financing or private investment, as it may be. So that's the big picture. We're going to allow time to open it up for questions and answers. And one thing that I noted on here is, we can go ahead and go to the next slide, is that we put some links in the slideshow itself, and it's going to be a PDF, and it'll be posted on the Arctic Energy website. And then maybe in the chat, Aaron, if you want to just give the Arctic Energy website link there, or where the posting will be, or Carolyn, and just be aware that we hope by tomorrow, business day, we'll have it on there, but it'll be a PDF and it has all the links as well. Here's just a bit more detail. I have this in another slide, and our big interest is to get into the conversation here. So we have, I'm sorry, could you go back one? I did say another slide, but I was a little ahead of myself. So the big picture of the prize is we have the two tracks, and I told you that the partner track, there you go, perfect. The partner track, we have partner and finance track, and then there's two phases to the prize. And the big takeaways here is that the phase one, which means applications are due by May 24th, it's a very different type of, it's not a aFOA application at all. And there's a little bit of a video, there's a little bit of description, but it's a very different than a aFOA application. It's not going to require tens or hundreds of hours of work, and you're not going to have to hire somebody to do it. It's something that's really open and available. And we're excited about that. We're excited about sharing that with you. The other thing to note there is that we'll have selections late in the summer, and then that enters a phase two. You will have to enter phase one to go to phase two. And all this is going to be available. We have a link for you at the end of the document, but I also put it in the chat already. It's the HeroX link. And if you're interested, go ahead and sign up. There's plenty of time still to sign up. We did our initial webinar on this last week, and there's a recording for that on there. And then next week, we have a couple more, which if you go ahead to the next slide, you'll see some key dates there. Next week, we're saying, for those of you that are thinking, do I want to be in the partner track or the finance track? We're actually giving 2 individual webinars on each one. And as I said, you'll have those links available to sign up. And we also have a TA with some office hours, basically, that we're partnering with NREL to provide. And that'll be on the right. So you have a lot of options here. You can see the existing videos. You can go and register for the videos for next week. If you're interested, all the rules are there in HeroX. We welcome you to get any technical assistance on trying to, identify what's the best option for you there. And anything else, we're happy to answer through the FAQs, which is also available at HeroX. And I know that was a very brief overview, and hopefully we can get some more time to chat about it. But if we'll go to the next slide, the second funding opportunity that we have on the street, open for all, it's on our OSET Exchange website. And I provided that in the chat as well. This is a $300 million traditional FOA. It's a cooperative agreement contract. And many of you are very familiar with this type of FOA, except that one thing that we have in there, which you may or may not have been familiar or experienced with, is that we have a concept paper. And that concept paper is coming up middle of next month. And let me just stay on the topic areas here, and the dates are coming up. But we have two topic areas, and by and large, the topic areas are a little bit different that you have seen. They're not technology specific, they're not project specific, they're more based on project dollar values. So you see that we have a topic area 1 where it's $5 to $10 million projects, and a topic area 2 where it's $10 to $100 million projects. As I said, we are not technology specific, but we are a clean energy office. And as part of this administration, they're interested in clean energy, whether that's through clean energy to you is through efficiencies or reducing fuels or optimizing systems. That's all for your application to consider. And we can get into a little bit more specificity on here, but as I said, it's on OSET Exchange. That link is in the website, and I mean on the chat here. And you're welcome to go there and check it out while we're talking, and shoot any questions you like. I'd be happy to talk about that. And then if we go to the next slide, a couple key dates is we do have the middle of April is the concept paper due. The intent for you, the applicant, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make FOAs simpler. And kind of a challenge for us, but I know that we've heard from many people that FOAs can be very challenging and time consuming, and we're trying to make it a bit easier for you, the applicant, to access these funds through our office. And the way we're doing that in this particular case with this FOA is we're doing generally a low lift concept paper. I believe based on the specificity you're looking at, it's between an 8 and a 12-page concept paper. And that will allow you to submit that concept paper in the middle of April. And then we'll give a steer to you, the applicant, whether we encourage or discourage your total application. Even if you are discouraged, you can move forward with the full application. The only thing to note here is you do have to submit a concept paper to enter into that discussion. So you can't skip the concept paper and then put a full application in June, at the end of June. You do need to enter a concept paper if you'd like to be considered for this funding opportunity. Two links that are going to be on this slide that you'll have access to is we have a webinar. Maybe if we haven't yet, Courtney, maybe we can put that webinar link in the chat. And we're having that webinar on Wednesday of this week. And that's the full, very detailed FOA webinar of every specificity of the FOA and what's expected and the application requirements. And if you're interested in joining that, we welcome you. But of course, that will be on record also, so you can watch it at your leisure. And then important on these dates is that we have technical assistance available as well. It's more of an office hours type of format where you can talk with our great colleagues at NREL as you prepare the concept paper. And we'd welcome you as part of that. That deadline is next Friday, April 7th to apply to get that. But we welcome, if you're interested, to shoot a note to NREL, and that link will be there it's the second where it says technical assistance available as well. We can move forward. Now we have one last piece that's not quite live yet, and we don't have an exact date on this, but if you noticed, the prize was something that we were looking at to try and allow maybe not quite project ready to get some of those initial project steps to make you more competitive for funding. And then the FOA that's on the street now, you notice that the first topic area was 5 to 10 million and the second was 10 to 100 million. So you might ask, what about projects under 5 million? And we are very interested in addressing that. We don't have official numbers or releases as of now, But we do what we put in the FOA, original FOA 1 that we just spoke about is we hope within 60 days, and that was published on March 1st. We hope within 60 days of March 1st that we're going to have something on the street, plus or minus just a little bit of maybe a week or two, but we'd like to get this on the street. And this will be a really, in my experience with funding opportunities, a very different type of FOA for DOE. It's going to be very direct and as simple as possible, without excessive data required for the FOA. So it's going to be new for us, it's going to be new for you, but our idea is to really listen to what communities have been telling us as we form this program and make federal funding easier to access. It's still going to be competitive. It's still going to be require, you know, a great deal of envisioning and describing what you're doing and why it's an important project, but we're trying to lower that bar on allowing communities to access federal funding. We can go ahead from that. That's to be continued. We'll give more information on that. And really the last couple of slides here is we just have a couple of websites, which most of this has already been posted, how to find us at our office, how to find us, the FOA opportunity. This is the $300 million FOA opportunity. And then if you go to the next slide, that has Aaron's information, Aaron and Carolyn's information there on how to interact and look for them. The energy.gov Arctic is where this slideshow will be presented. And then on the right side, I just wanted to simplify the links for you. We simply have a link to the funding opportunity announcement, which has everything that we talked about, and we have a link to the prize on HeroX, and that's everything we talked about as well. We're going to be transitioning into Q&A. We have about an hour left, and we're going to really just open up for conversation. We're going to welcome you to go on video if you prefer, but if not, you can speak as well. But we'll need some kind of just keep in order, and if you hear somebody else talking, please don't talk over them. And then as Morgan said in the beginning, feel free to come on camera, and then if you're not speaking, maybe just cut the camera so that we can ensure bandwidth for everybody. The one last thing that I want to talk about, which we haven't gotten into too much detail right now, but this program is designed by Congress to serve communities of less than 10,000. And what that means is the benefits from any effort, whether it be a project or whatever it may be, all the way from prize to $100 million project, we have to ensure that the benefits are distributed to the communities that we hope to serve, and that's communities of 10,000 or less. And we can get into questions on that. It's a little bit easier to understand in Alaska than in the lower 48, but we're happy to talk about any of those items. Last thing, just a bit of a housekeeping, and we'll open it up to questions, is I will not be able to, and Courtney will not be able to on this conversation, tell you if your project is eligible, if you should apply. These are things that you have to decide for yourself, and really to determine an eligibility on an application, it requires the documents all in front of us. So we're not going to be able to make on the fly eligibility determinations, but we're very happy to talk to you about any questions you have. So with that, I will ask Courtney and Aaron and Carolyn to let's start kind of getting into Q&As. And I haven't been able to see the chat. I'm checking now, but while we're doing that, it looks like, Pamela, we may welcome you to ask a question.
Thanks, Mike. Just a quick question. I wanted to make sure that applying for the prize in either track doesn't exclude us from also applying to the FOA.
That is correct. They are two separate and distinct areas. In my mind, there's different levels of project readiness. So, but that doesn't restrict anything. I'm thinking generally on the prize is you're trying to develop those initial engineering studies. You might be developing those initial options analysis. You might be building the project team, working with other different funding mechanisms to see how you're going to fund a project. And some of those things, let's just say you may be more competitive in the FOA if some of those things are developed. But there's certainly, we welcome ideas and concepts, and there's no exclusion at all from applying for both.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And Pam, where are you calling in from? Just curious.
Anchorage, Alaska. I work for Launch Alaska.
Okay, perfect, Pam, and welcome. And I forgot to mention that, but it's a great reminder is if you're on the camera or speaking, just tell us where you're at, and we like to say hello, see how much of the state is represented here.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm just scrolling through the chat here.
Yeah, I've got some teed up for you, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, thanks so much. And these came in while you were talking. So one is, could the funds be used for capacity building? It sounds like the focus is on transitioning towards clean energy, but some communities lack the ability to have energy usage in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple different funding opportunities we're talking about. Without any hesitation, 100% capacity building in the prize. Absolutely. That is a great opportunity to build capacity. And then when we get into the FOA specific, capacity building certainly could be part of the program. Our requirement is to improve energy in rural or remote areas. And we have what we reference as an A through F, and maybe I'll capture that and put it in the screen, but it's from our bill provision, and it says what we are allowed to do. And capacity can complement a lot of those things. If you were going to apply solely to the FOA for capacity, you would have to be clear in how it improves energy in that area. And so that would be the requirement there to make more clear. If you have any follow-up questions on that, I'm happy to answer those if I didn't fully answer your question there. And what else, Courtney?
Looks like we have a hand up from Dustin here.
Okay. Hey, Dustin.
Hi, Mike. Hey, everyone. Yeah, this is Dustin Madden from andTHC. And my question is just, I kind of want to verify that the matching funds don't need to be fully committed, fully secured at the concept paper stage.
Yes, you're right. They don't have to be fully committed. Let me just, while in the background, I'm going to pull up the FOA, which is available to all of you at OSET Exchange. And I'm just going to section 5.6.1 of the FOA, which is the concept paper. And just to verify that I don't ask, or our program doesn't ask for anything, but yeah, I'm not seeing anything here that requires you to specify or give certainty of securing the cost share. For awareness, this is falls under the EPA Act of 2005. And as such, that requires the Department of Energy to initiate the funding opportunity as a 50% cost share. However, the director of our office has determined that if the prime is a nonprofit, then we will waive cost share to 20% on this particular FOA. And happy to answer any more questions on that. Did I get that? Did I answer your question there?
Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Connor, it looks like you're there. Just tell us where you're at and what question do you have?
Hi, I'm likewise at andTHC in Anchorage, and my question relates to the concept paper section in the regarding the community benefit plan versus the larger community benefit plan requirement. My reading of the FOA was that in the concept paper, a shorter summary version of the community benefit plan is required, and then upon submission, a larger, more robust community benefit plan is required. Is that correct? And are there page number requirements for the full submission community benefit plan?
Okay, two great questions. And I'm just going to repeat a little bit for the audience just to make sure everybody's understanding. Is, as I said, and this is in reference to the $300 million funding opportunity, we have a concept paper that is due no later than the 14th of April. And again, we do have availability with office hours to communicate with our partners at NREL if they have any questions on how to develop. Now, they're not going to develop it for you, but if you have any questions on that. And the concept paper requires a section on community benefit plan. And that is, as you said, it's an introduction, if you will, to what your total community benefit plan. So let's just say it's a preface of what you're going to submit in your total application. So the way you phrased it sounded very accurate. And in there, as you noted, we do have page limits in the community benefits plan for the concept paper, but we failed to put any page limits in the community benefits plan in the FOA. And if you submitted that question on the email, I was going through it this morning and double checking with Jill, who's our great community benefits lead for this program. And I think that in the final edits, it got cut out, and we're going to add it. And I don't know if it's going to be 10 or 12 pages, but I will, if you didn't ask that, it just somebody else happened to ask that as well, Connor. But we'll be posting that. It'll probably be another business day or two before it gets posted on the website. And it will subsequently come with a mod of the FOA to make sure that any page links for the final submission will be posted. But the positive thing is the first thing to do is the concept paper, and that page link is there. And then we'll have that listed in plenty of time for your awareness. But nominally speaking, I believe it's going to be 10 or 12 pages. And we'll have that answer for you posted absolutely online, and it'll be in our Q&A. And a good thing that in that subject matter is when you do go to the OSET Exchange, we do have a question and answer link that shows all the questions and answers that we get from the communities across the nation. And that is intended to help you just see what other people are asking and learn about questions that other people have. Did that answer you for Connor?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. What else do we have here, Courtney?
I got one. This one actually came in just to me for you. So not everybody sees it. So it says, Mike, the term demonstration adds confusion. It implies that this is a project that is new and not been done before. Can you please elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. So on an earlier slide, Courtney showed all the, let's say, avenues of interest or technology interests that the office has. And there's many of them. It's new hydrogen hubs, and we have a nuclear section. We have decarbonization, energy storage, many other technology advances that the current administration and the Congress, for that matter, I should say, has allocated the monies to advance some of our energy development in the nation. This is on a national level. And all those things fall into our office, the Office of Clean Energy Demonstration. So by and large, huge amounts of money and efforts for this office are going to demonstration, as the person that asked it inquired. Now, for our particular program, energy improvements in rural remote areas, the requirements for demonstration are not such that we expect R&D to develop into a commercial product. It's not an R&D program. In fact, the majority of our stuff says you need to be at a TRL, technological readiness level of 8 or 9, it needs to be commercially available technologies, etc. There is a bit of a caveat in our FOA that says if you're right at a 7 and pretty much commercially available, and you think by the end of our project phases, when you go live and you hit commercial operation date, that you'll be in an 8 or 9, then we'll discuss that. But I hope that clarifies a bit, that tells folks that we're not doing R&D. We're certainly not doing prototypes. We want to make as great of an impact with this money to better the lives and communities of our rural partners. So in general, that's commercially ready and list available, TRL 8-9, and we're not asking you to demonstrate a brand new thing. Now, having said that, many of you engineers and construction experts in Alaska understand that just because we're bringing together commercially available technology, the way we apply it, the way we integrate it, our SCADA systems, our communications, they might be innovative in and of themselves. And we welcome that innovation. We welcome that rural Alaska innovation that always, cuts us one step ahead of many other technologies, I think, and that's something we welcome, we embrace, and we encourage you to highlight that in your applications and in your concept papers. Is if you're taking these commercially ready technologies and using them in such a way that you're going to achieve efficiencies or whatever, to achieve great things with those actions, then we welcome that and appreciate you to sharing that. And whoever did chat that in, hope that answered your question. If not, do a follow-up, and we have plenty of time here. We have another 45 minutes. I saw one in here, Courtney, that asked if you can get a link to the finance track webinar.
We did send those. Yes, we did send all the links. And then I know one gentleman, I think, is also having problems saving the chat. We will work with Whitney, Aaron, and Caroline after this to send an email of all the links too, so everybody has those. So don't worry about saving your tabs or saving anything from the chat. We'll make sure you have it. There was some other questions that came in. Some have been answered a little bit. Some we might not be able to answer, but I'll read them off. You did, and I apologize because that was something that I probably should have done on my slide as well, is define what community means in this case with rural and remote and the 10,000 population. So got that question again, just how is rural or remote areas defined? And then is Juneau, for example, eligible?
I'm going to be careful here because we can't just give eligibility reads, but let me just say rural and remote is defined very specifically by Congress in our provision as city, towns, or unincorporated areas with 10,000 inhabitants or less. So to put a little bit of clarity on that, the benefit has to go to a rural or remote area. So without being specific, but obviously city centers like Juneau, Fairbanks, Anchorage, if they're greater than 10,000, then the benefit is not intended to go to communities of greater than 10,000. Now, if you had a project that was cited in one of those municipalities or districts, however you would want to say it, and the benefits were going to other communities that were less than 10,000, then that is not, the citing itself does not exclude you from the program. But it is very important to us and part of your application to show that exactly what community at less than 10,000 is benefiting from your project. And it'll be a requirement for you to be successful in the application to demonstrate that. So without being specific to Juneau, I guess the reply I would give to that is if your benefits are not going to a community of less than 10,000, then your eligibility is not there for our efforts. And while you're looking up another one, Courtney, I think Jim, we welcome you to pop on and talk to us and tell us where you're coming from.
Yeah. Excuse me, this is Jim Henderson. I'm in Girdwood. And although we're unfortunately in the incorporated of Anchorage, our energy supply and Hope and Portage is somewhat seriously unrelated to downtown Anchorage. And I was there were several of us thinking of a community solar program over here, which a battery and solar program that could be incorporated in this grid. When we lose, is that something that I'm asking very specific because that's a strange issue, but when you consider Hope at the very end of thing, which can go out for 4 days, they are not. They are not part of the system, or they are, but they are the red-haired stepchild. So I'll let you proceed with that if you would.
Yeah, just could you repeat the question? I understand the areas you're talking about. Could you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, putting in some sort of, large size community solar here. I mean, I think when wind is attractive, but it may be seriously challenged by the significant winds they get in at the down at the arm. And but community solar down there, a large community solar down at the inlet would, out of the trees and out of the mountains, would be would put a substantial supply of energy into this valley. And
Yeah.
it could be elsewhere, but definitely the aim is here because we do get isolated, and even more so with Hope, which really gets isolated. I mean, I don't know if you know the geography. I apologize, I don't know what you know of the geography, but
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah.
okay, yeah. Is that a valid question at this point? Because
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. So without obviously having reviewed any specific application, everything you just said was eligible. You referred to communities that were less than 10,000. You referred to energy projects that are eligible under the topic areas. So everything you just said conceptually is eligible. Now, we do encourage you, like through we have this in our FOA package, but clearly, if you're deciding on a project, you've probably put some thought into it. So, you know, where is that solar? Is it solar plus storage? Why is it solar and not wind? I mean, is it because you did a wind analysis and wind wasn't favorable for that, but you did a solar analysis and solar is more favorable? Or you have a quicker payback period because you're doing solar, or that type of thing? Is it on the grid or is it off the grid? Are you connecting to the grid? Are you partnering with the utility for which grid you're going in? Are there any concerns about permissions? So these are things that get into real, you can see where I'm going, like the granularity. But just to quickly answer your question, is absolutely everything that you asked about would be in the eligibility, like it's in the feasible, that it's something that would go fit well into the program.
well, hey, I do appreciate it. Everything you said is not easily done, but infinitely easily addressed. Questions or the point that you ask are very succinct and can be addressed. And I've watched several programs in the lower 48 around family farms where they are putting in huge programs. 2,800 acres of solar farm. That's a large project, and huge amounts of wind. So I'm not discouraged. I mean, I'm very encouraged with what I see other places doing. I feel that we up here can certainly have more wind than 17 windmills out on an island. Yeah, I really appreciate this program. I'm glad I was able to capture. It drove me nuts trying to find your link, so that's why I was late. But I did finally find you. So, hey, I'll keep on, and thanks so much. Keep it
All
up,
right.
please.
Yeah. And no, thank you, Jim, and we welcome your question. And if there's any, just to kind of a recap, if there's any other questions on FOA specific stuff, we welcome that. That's ERA FOA1 at what is it, hq.doe.gov, and that's in the chat as well. Let's have some other questions. We still have a good half hour or so to clarify anything. Do want to note that we have two different topics here, the prize and the funding opportunity. The prize is a $15 million opportunity to maybe jumpstart some of your project ideas that may not be fully competitive yet to secure funding, or it may be some other ideas just to jumpstart different communities on their path to energy security. We do have the funding opportunity. There's a couple of topic areas there, and generally speaking, projects 5 to 10 million and projects 10 to 100 million. I'm going to go in the background here and pull up that provision through A through F, because there's a couple of things that I want to talk about that aren't just energy generation, that we might find some really interesting things that Alaskans may be interested in. Courtney, do we have any other questions?
So far, we've answered pretty much all of them that have come in that we're able to. One question did come in, and it was just, what exactly is FOA? And of course, we did say funding opportunity announcement. But, speaking for myself, just not being familiar with all the mechanisms, can you give a little bit of an overview, just definitions of what is a funding opportunity announcement, to what is a prize, to what is a grant, to what is a cooperative agreement, just to help frame what these are, and maybe both the opportunity and constraints that are within them?
Absolutely. The biggest thing to note here is funding opportunity announcement is the more traditional contracting vehicle or contracting availability that many of you are familiar with, whether it be through Indian Energy or Department of Agriculture or others, to do projects. And that is, you have a very formal application period. You have to be registered on the multitude of systems. You have to have your accounting practices by SAM and verified, which accounting management system, etc. And then you put in this full major application into, in this case, the Department of Energy, and it's reviewed. And then if you are selected, you enter into negotiations. And then if you're successful with negotiations, you essentially come out with a statement of project objectives and milestones for the project that everybody agrees on: contracting, legal, and you, the awardee at that time. And there's two contracting vehicles that we typically award through that funding opportunity announcement. One is a cooperative agreement and one is a grant. They're not exclusive to only those two things. It's just, in my experience, working rural projects, that's what we typically award, is a cooperative agreement or a grant. Now, a prize is a very distinctly different operation that's not, doesn't require significant applications, and it has a bit different funding. It's the prize itself is rewarding communities for coming up with the concept and having the initiative to better their situation. In this case, it's moving them closer to project ready. If you want to say shovel ready, you can. I think that's probably used a little bit too frequently, but it's either securing their project team, it's finding avenues for financing, it's building opportunities in engineering or permitting, or identifying staffing or resources or training, or any number of things that can take you, the community, closer to that starting line where you have all your package ready, you have a really fully fleshed out and strong project readiness, and you're ready to, at that time, compete for some funds. The prize are lump sum payments. They're not like milestone based. You don't need accounting systems, but we're talking significantly less. We're talking $100,000, $200,000 prizes per applicant. So those are some distinctly different things, and it's the prize is set up to reward you, the community, or you, the entity, I should say, for proposing something that can, possibly like overcome a paradigm where, rural communities are less likely to succeed because of A, B, or C when it comes to project development. Well, let's take care of A, B, and C with efforts through the prize, and then just drop that sentence and say rural communities are competitive for funding for project development. And so it's a high, lofty goal. We admit that, and we're excited to see what kind of competitors we get in that prize competition. We do have an opportunity on that first round to award up to 90 prizes. That is nationally, but we always welcome our Alaska participants or Alaska partners to compete with that.
Great, thanks, Mike. I know you were in the process of pulling something up, weren't you?
Yes, I wanted to talk just a minute about types of from our provision language, types of efforts that we can award money on. And we casually, I guess, call this A through F. I guess it's not casual, it's verbatim from the legislature. But it tells us that we can use federal financial assistance in these arenas. And I think it's interesting to look at this, and let me jump back over here and I'll drop it in the chat. I don't know how the formatting is going to come through in here, but it's an A through F, and we'll just see. Oh, it looks like the formatting came okay. So this is directly, if you are able to see the chat, from our legislative provision. And I'll just kind of highlight there. We must impact. I took out the initial language, maybe that wasn't proper, but these are the things you must impact or have an effect on or consider with any kind of effort through our funding. Cost effectiveness of energy generation, transmission or distribution, siting and upgrading of transmission and distribution, reducing greenhouse gas from energy generation, providing modernization of electric generation facilities, develop microgrids, and increase energy efficiency. And this, I think, may help you see why we're very technology neutral, because this is the whole gamut. We're talking transmission, distribution, SCADA systems and powerhouses, efficiency upgrades in any of your transmission or distribution efforts. And then, of course, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's something that you've seen commonly. Siting and upgrading. We have obviously the energy generation, energy storage, other efficiency measures. So there's a lot of, this is a very open categories, if you will. And I think Congress wrote this intentionally to not limit the great ideas that we see from our rural partners.
We also did get another question in here. It says, the FOA is until 2026. Do you intend to repeat the prize competition as well, or is that just a one-time thing?
We hope to. We don't know yet. The answer is we just don't know. We're brand new. The entire OSED program stood up less than a year ago, and our provision is just a few months younger than that as far as standing things up. So this is a first shot for all of us. Luckily, Courtney and some of our peers and colleagues like Aaron, Carolyn, and our staff, I think I saw Juan on here as well. He's one of our engineers, and another engineer, Jeremy, just joined us. We have a really small but really great staff with a lot of experience in designing and building energy projects. And we have a lot of former positions with rural communities all across the country. So I think that we're doing really well with what we stand up, but we're going to have to learn from it. We're going to have to see, do a lot of people apply to the FOA? Do a lot of people apply to the prize? And then we'll get feedback and see, was it beneficial to you? You know, did this partner track, did this finance track, did it really help you achieve or become, our idea is that you're going to become more competitive for project financing or funding, as the case may be. But did that happen? We'll have to see. We'll have to grade ourselves on our successes. And then, of course, the larger FOA, did we delineate that correctly? Did we see good successes from that? Are we seeing good applicants and good competition? And then similarly, what we hope to see in the next couple of months is that less than $5 million FOA. And the big question we're asking some of these is we are trying to make it much easier for you, the rural community, to access federal funding to develop these energy projects. Were we successful with that? And did it help? So we'll be learning all that together, and continually we are going to welcome your feedback. And as you know, Aaron's in Anchorage, I'm here in Fairbanks. I don't think either one of us are going anywhere. So we want to be long-term partners with you in these communities where you want to see some energy projects. And hopefully we can do that together and have some great successes.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. That was perfectly said. I think it's one of the reasons that so many of us meaning the handful of us that are on this team is we really want to build those relationships. And as Mike said, we're moving in this direction based on the feedback and the engagement. We're going to have a few different types of funding mechanisms, but we'll know a lot more. And we invite you to, let us know. And we've been putting some email addresses in the chat here. And again, we'll follow up an email with more ways to contact us. But we do want to know your questions. Most likely somebody else has that same question. And we also want consideration for the next time. So just please know that the door is open and then that invite is there. Mike, I do have a question for you. I'm not sure how much we can ask. This one's specific, but I think more or less we're just talking about storage eligibility. But it says in rural Alaska, you have to have in rural Alaska, you have to have fuel storage, tank farms in order to deliver electricity. Are tank farms eligible with the application?
I'd have to look into it. I don't know the immediate answer. I am fully aware of tank farms. I know a lot of the work that Denali's Commission's been doing for years with the tank farms. Does that classify, does work itself, fuel storage work itself, improve energy? That's the question. And I don't have a direct answer on that one. I would welcome you to put that into our, put it into an email and ask us so that we can actually get our legal team to give an answer for that. I can think of a lot of different ways we're looking at that, but then also I guess the question I would ask you is, are we only talking about the literal containment of fuel, or is it, are we integrating it somehow into the power plant, or getting greater efficiencies, or less loss, or something else? But again, that website, it's aFOA1 at hq.doe.gov, and it's in the chat. We would love to get that question written to us, and then we'll ask with our contracting and legal team, and we'll post that on our FAQ or Q&A spreadsheet. And again, we welcome you to go to that exchange and look at that Q&A spreadsheet, because I think it gives a lot of great insight to things that other rural communities are asking. I think Erin came up for a moment. Did you want to share something with us, Erin?
Yeah, I certainly don't want to cut off the flow of questions, and I really appreciate this dialogue. As we're going through here, I mentioned at the beginning that we really want your input as to how useful this webinar is, and tailored to Alaskans' questions. So I'm just going to put the Arctic Energy Office's email address in the chat. Please let us know how well this webinar is working for you, and if it's useful, and if you'd like to see more of them coordinated with other funding offices at DOE, and if so, how can we improve them as we keep moving on? So again, I don't want to interrupt the flow of questions, but really do want to make sure we're hearing from you about how to make these things as effective as possible for all of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin. And are you seeing any other questions in there, Courtney? If not, then I'll maybe repeat just a couple things for the group, and then if we don't have any other asks, then let me know. A couple of things that I wanted to share, just to repeat, is we have a couple of key dates coming up on the FOA. That is the $300 million funding opportunity announcement. It's broken into two topic areas: $5 to $10 million projects and $10 to $100 million projects. The concept papers are due on April 14th, and we welcome you to utilize our office hours with our great partners at NREL as you develop that concept paper. And that link is, if we haven't put it in here, I'll put it in there in a moment, but it's also available for you in the FOA itself. And I'll grab that here and just put it shortly. The request for assistance from our NREL colleagues ends on a Friday from this week, on April 7th. So if you haven't reached out to them next week, make sure that by the 7th you reach out to them and reserve an office hour time if it's of interest to you. If you're really ready for the concept paper, then shoot it over, and we look forward to having that to review. And if you have any questions on the FOA as you're looking at the concept paper, or just questions in general, we welcome you to put it into our FOA email, erafoa1 at hq.doe.gov, and we'll get an answer to you. Hopefully, we're trying within 3 business days to get an answer to you online. And then secondly, the prize. It's a $15 million prize. We have 2 tracks. the partner track, and the finance track. And we're looking for new ways to, tackle some of these old paradigms we find in developing energy projects in rural areas. And we really are depending on you, the communities, to tell us, hey, have you ever thought of this? I've never, let's organize the villages this way. Let's look at, doing different options for how we, A, B, or C. I mean, it could be anything. The way you develop energy, the way you get fuel on the villages, any kind of concepts on partnering, different partnerships with the state, or partnerships with other communities, or partnerships with for-profit businesses, or however it may be. Or it may be a matter of thinking about different opportunities to fund these energy projects. It could be the consolidation of energy projects to get a better cost average of procuring equipment. It could be a number of other things. It could be finding other funding partners that may not be active in Alaska through angel investing or other investing with certain objectives, like a green investing or something like that. Or it could be tying into other large-scale financial partners that just haven't traditionally been in this space, that as their board determines that they want to have a greater space in either rural projects or green projects or Alaska or the Arctic or whatever it may be. It may be securing some financial partnerships in that manner. And we're going to reward successful competitors for those ideas. And we're going to be real excited about what you may achieve and how you may show those, bring communities to be more competitive for funding when they're project ready. Those were just a couple of recaps, and I will go in the background here and make sure that you have the link that gets you to request NREL for technical assistance for the FOA. And Courtney, do we have any other questions there?
Yeah, I got one right here at the end. It's a very good one, very related to our topic area for our FOA. Can several communities, each under 10,000 people, aggregate their projects into one larger project?
Absolutely. We actually had a question on this. I don't think it's been published yet, asking if you could aggregate under topic area 1. We actually, in topic area 2, we have a area of interest for aggregation of projects, and that's from 5 to 100 million. And they're like, hey, if we're less than 5 million, can we aggregate? And the answer is yes. Not only can you aggregate, but if you had many communities of less than 10,000, then your community benefits plan may show benefits across a region, which would be an interesting thing to see. We're very interested in see how the community benefits plan turn out. And if you have any questions on those community benefits plan, we welcome you to send us an email on it. But absolutely, without question, you can form coalitions, if you will, or consortia, however, whatever proper word you would assign to it, and bring many communities to one to compete. I do think that we have some wording in there about aggregation of similar technologies, which we could discuss and consider in many different ways, but I don't think it was in the senior officials' idea of aggregation as being just a piecemeal of a bunch of different items. But if you could show that they work together for a given goal, then I think that would be feasible as well. But absolutely, we'd love to see many communities come together and solve some challenges, whatever they may be, on different approaches. I'm just putting in the concept, request TA office hours for the FOA concept paper, and that's an NREL. And then everything that you would like to access for the prize is at the HeroX website, which we put in earlier, but I'll just give you again, just for awareness. Make sure you have that HeroX, and you can get the, here's the HeroX for the prize. Everything you could need on the prize information is in there. And And we're
And
also
follow the
happy.
tabs on Hero X, follow those tabs at the top where it says more information. If you click on that tab, that's where it's going to drop down all the upcoming webinars and events. So you can easily add those to your calendar or register. And as Mike said, you know, one of the main reasons too we wanted to do this today with you all is just to kind of let you all see our faces and meet a little bit of our team, and just know to contact us. You know, use these emails. The team checks them every single day, multiple times a day, and we do want to make sure that we are being clear about these opportunities and building those relationships. So again, just want to kind of reinforce that, you know, no question is a bad one for the prize, for the FOA, for the upcoming other funding opportunity. Any way we can be helpful, please just make sure to reach out.
Thanks, Courtney. And I'm not seeing any more questions. Does anybody else want to come on camera and ask anything? We'll just pause for about 30 seconds. And then if we don't get any other feedback, Erin, I'm going to hand it to you and allow you to close us out. I would say that Courtney and I are, you know, very happy to have joined with you. I do want to know that we're sincerely working hard to try and get some great funding to rural communities. And in this context, we're really excited to meet with our Alaska partners. I'm happy to be here in Fairbanks. We welcome your feedback. I know Erin's doing a great job in Anchorage, and we're really excited about bringing some of these new DOE opportunities to our great state. And go Nanooks.
Do I respond with go Seawolves? We're all a big family. Thank you, Mike, Courtney, Morgan in the background for making this all work. We're really so happy that you're here. And again, please reach out to any of us at the links, at the email addresses with questions. Again, I want to ask you to let us know how this webinar went for you, and if you'd like to see more. You can send that kind of feedback to arcticenergy@hq.doe.gov. And once again, we're so grateful to all of you for taking part. And I hope that we can all work together to create opportunities for Alaska. So thanks again. Please look for this recording and slides to be posted on the Arctic Energy website. And here's to good things ahead. Have a great day.